Hurricane Florence is on a path to directly impact the Carolinas as a Category 4 storm, at least right now, as of late evening on September 11. It's moving west-northwestward at 17 miles an hour. Forecast cone stretches out steadily, showing that it could reach Category 5 status, at least briefly, and then winds start to diminish. By late Thursday, winds of potentially 130 miles an hour, and then that cone becomes a circle. And that all tells you the system is going to be slowing down as it approaches the coast, maybe even stalling as the winds diminish over the weekend. But that makes it a big rain threat. Now look at the computer models. They're all very consistent, meaning it's very likely to keep that path until Thursday. That's when the upper atmospheric winds slow down and this thing could meander. That's going to be a big problem. Notice some models keep it offshore from Thursday into Friday into Saturday. Others slowly take it inland. Some take it north, some take it south. And this is going to be the big mystery with Florence, exactly where it makes landfall and what that wind will be. In this projection, going to Thursday morning, we see the outer bands of the hurricane affecting the coastline of North Carolina. Within those bands, you can get tornadoes. At the same time, that counterclockwise circulation around the storm will be driving water up against the barrier islands, creating storm surge, most noticeable on Thursday morning. But then later on Thursday, as it gets closer to the coast, the surge gets even higher because now the winds are going to be blowing basically at a 90-degree angle, pushing water ashore. The eye of the storm in this projection, which is just one of many, still offshore as of late Thursday, still a broad eye with the highest winds around that circle. And notice in South Carolina, if this occurs, there would be an offshore wind, which is the better side of a hurricane. So what we know right now, this system will be slowing down as it approaches the coastline. It will likely start to lose wind speed too, not that it's going to be a weak system. You still have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Rainfall, flooding rainfall, that's going to be a potential big issue regardless of how it moves once it gets right up to the coast. And then the wind threat, that's the mystery, whether it loses enough wind speed before it moves inland so that wind is less of a threat. Now keep in mind, Category 4, winds of 140 miles an hour. Those winds are confined basically close to the center. It's not like it's 140 miles an hour everywhere, but still it's a broad storm. The hurricane force winds, the winds that are over 75 miles an hour, that's in that red area, which is about 100 miles across. As it moves toward the coast, the water temperature is warm enough that it's not going to make a big difference, but storm surge will be a big deal. Even if it rapidly loses wind speed, just the fact that it has built up a lot of water means that storm surge is going in. That's why you have a storm surge warning for the coast of North Carolina and South Carolina north of Charleston. You know the old rule, which is run from the water, hide from the wind. So in other words, if you're in a flood surge zone, you have got to get out of the way. There's no other way to look at it. There is a hurricane warning for those same locations and hurricane watches southward toward Charleston, up toward Norfolk, and also a little farther inland across North Carolina. That's where the uncertainty for where and how this system will make landfall. But it's not the only one. There is a tropical disturbance sitting right on the Yucatan. The National Hurricane Center projects this to go west-northwestward with a medium chance of becoming a tropical depression, maybe a minimal tropical storm by the weekend. It's going to be rain for the Texas coast, even for northern Mexico. That's the way that system is looking there. In the Caribbean, right now, things are calm. But look at that tropical storm Isaac. It was a hurricane a few days ago, steadily moving westward. But notice the clouds are being blown on one side of it. That's wind shear, not enough to totally destroy the system, but enough to keep it weak as it enters the Caribbean islands like Martinique and Guadeloupe. They'll be looking at a tropical storm with rain. But look at the forecast wind speed projections. By Friday, 45 miles an hour. By Saturday, down to 40. So if all goes well, this system will stay weak and then fade away after Saturday. Something to watch in the Caribbean. In the far eastern Atlantic, Hurricane Helene, now that's moving northwestward at 10 miles an hour. And look at the clouds here. They're being blown back toward the northeast. So that tells you there's some wind shear there. And as it moves northwest and then back to the north and then northeast, it goes into colder water. So it's less likely to be an issue for anybody, although the Azores, they may get a part of this. Notice how it does hold on to winds potentially still around 60 miles an hour. Don't forget Hawaii. It's Tropical Storm Olivia. That will be moving right through the Hawaiian Islands. Again, satellite doesn't show you the low clouds around it, but there's also some wind shear that's blowing the higher clouds away from it. So rain for the Hawaiian Islands and all of that while folks are watching Hurricane Florence. Stay updated if you live on the coast of the Carolinas. Be safe. I'm Chief Meteorologist Alan Seals.